a player.
Good morning.
Shedeur Sanders. I've never seen a player. I've never seen this happen before. So he was projected to be the number one draft pick, right? Number one, number three, around the top three pretty much for the last 10 weeks of the season. And now some have him even out of the top 10. But every day, the criticism that he's faced, and he's done like 2 workouts. He hasn't done anything more. Like, it's not like he's done something that's like, okay, he hasn't done anything to my knowledge at all, right? It seems like it's a asserted effort to diminish his character and diminish his draft stock. I don't know if this is to kind of put a precedent that Deion is not going to have his way in this. I don't know what it is, but
I think so.
To me, this feels like collusion to lower his draft stock for no reason. Shedeur Sanders, I've never seen a player. I've never seen this happen before. So he was projected to be the number one draft pick, right? Number one, number three, around the top three pretty much for the last 10 weeks of the season. And now some have him even out of the top 10. But every day, the criticism that he's faced, and he's done like 2 workouts. He hasn't done anything more. Like, it's not like he's done something that's like, okay, he hasn't done anything to my knowledge at all, right? It seems like it's a asserted effort to diminish his character and diminish his draft stock. I don't know if this is to kind of put a precedent that Deion is not going to have his way in this. I don't know what it is, but
I think so.
To me, this feels like collusion to lower his draft stock for.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition, the Friday edition of Let It Be Known, the Black Press's morning show. I am your host, Stacey Brown. Our co-pilot, Neil Anderson, is not with us today, but we hope to have her back on Monday. But that is the big story in sports, with all the playoff games going on in both the NBA and the NHL. That is the big story. Shedeur Sanders was shut out of the first round. And I'm looking at some of the comments. As Orangey says, tell him that this is nothing new, especially when it comes to black quarterbacks. Nancy Wall says Dak is absolutely right. Look at what they did to Colin. This is it's not surprising, but it's bad for the NFL because it does reek of collusion. This is, Deion's kid, of course, but here's the thing, more so than that. This guy was the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. He completed 74% of his passes, 37 touchdowns, just 10 interceptions. How do you ignore that when so many teams in the NFL need a quarterback? That there is something seriously wrong with that. And if history tells the correct story on what happened yesterday, what might happen today, who knows if he's going to go today? I think we'll find that there was some other force moving against Shedeur Sanders. It is Happy Swag Hoodie Day, yes, indeed. And I see Orangey is rocking GSU, Grambling State University, where Walter Payton and Walter Payton's from Jackson State, he says, was drafted 50 years ago. That's his black back of the day. But more so, we have, I believe, a black history, black trivia quiz. Can we bring that up if we have that this morning? And we also, later this morning, in a little bit, actually, we have a special guest, former Ohio State Senator Nina Turner is going to join us as we talk more of the Target boycott and more. So we will be talking to Nina Turner, always a very outspoken individual who is not afraid to speak truth to power. So much going on. If you happen on Black Press USA today.com, blackpressusa.com, Black Press USA Today, I should know better. The Smithsonian Purge, April Ryan is reporting that Trump has started to remove some of the artifacts of Black resistance at the National Smithsonian Museum of African American History and Culture. You know, we were there recently, Let It Be Known was, and we talked to some people there. And it just seems that it's happening. It may not be happening in a way that some expect or have expected, but according to April Ryan, it is happening. They're starting with the 1960 Woolworths lunch counter sit-in exhibit, among other things. So something to keep an eye on there. This may not be, to some, this may not be the bombshell, but it does show that there is movement. And just to think again, this woman, a white woman, told Trump to remove stuff from the Smithsonian African American Museum. She, she clutched her pearls and all of that craziness. And the question is, as NB says, where are they putting the artifacts? In April's story today, there is some information on that. You might want to check out blackpressusa.com. And again, the story, the headline there is the Smithsonian Purge. Trump team removes artifacts of Black resistance. So check that out at blackpressusa.com. And still another bold proclamation that Donald Trump does indeed plan to run again against the Constitution. He signed a presidential memorandum yesterday, cracking down on Act Blue. Act Blue is the Democrats' major online donation platform. And what he's saying is that he wants to crack down on foreign donations. The Democrats say they've been bracing for this and looking for potential action from the White House against that platform. And here we are. They're trying to push back, though. Act Blue CEO Regina Wallace-Jones wrote that nothing will deter or interrupt Act Blue's mission and work to enable millions of Americans to participate in our democracy. So we'll see. This is a clear sign. I saw someone, it looked really nice. I gotta hand it to him. You see the Trump does have, by the way, to go along with that, he has started to print Trump 2028 hats, red hats. And I also saw someone print a blue Obama 2028 hat with the caption that if Trump can run for a third term, so can Obama. Not sure that Barack Obama wants to, but it's really an interesting proposition to see, to even think that Obama would run against Trump. Wow, that would end Trump, wouldn't it? Let me get your comments, folks. That would probably be the death knell for Trump if he lost to Barack Obama. That'd be all out civil war. You thought 2020 when he refused to accept the results and he sent his troops to the Capitol. Imagine if Barack Obama defeated him. Oh gosh, folks, batten down the hatches. Oh man, here's a story. It's so alarming, and some may have seen this video circulating on social media. This mother and her 11-year-old daughter, they went to their hair appointment. They arrived at 5:10 p.m. The hairstylist, who we have not been able to identify by name, but certainly in video, you could see who she is, She wasn't playing about her late fee and demanded it. Conchata Singleton, the child's grandmother, said the hairstylist attempted to enforce a policy charging an extra $25 fee for arrivals more than 10 minutes late, like she's the doctor. Don't you hate that too? You go to the doctor and they charge you this late fee. Some doctors now, if you 10, 15 minutes late, they won't see you at all and still charge you. But yet you go to the doctor's office and you wait. You ever sit there half hour, 45 minutes, an hour? You can't charge them. And the same thing with hairstyles. Now, I agree, you should be on time to your hair appointment. You should be on time to your doctor's appointment. But the mother says she would not pay that $25 sum. She argued that she wasn't late since she arrived exactly at 5:10 p.m., which would have put her at the 10-minute mark. It's also interesting that this young girl, her 11-year-old daughter's appointment was scheduled for a different date, an earlier date, and the mother had paid for the service up front. Well, the hairstylist canceled that appointment and rescheduled to braid this young girl's hair. Well, it got ugly because the mom didn't want to pay that $25 fee, late fee. A, arguing that she wasn't late. B, it was the hairstylist who canceled the original appointment. And so surveillance footage shows that the hairstylist decides, okay, you're not going to give me a $25 fee. She decides to try and cut the young girl's hair off with the scissors. And you see in the video, and apparently we don't have that video right now, but you see in the video, another hairstylist, a barber, a guy, gets up and his client gets out of the chair to restrain the woman, the hairstylist, from using the scissors. Now, she apparently cut the mother on the hand with the scissors as the mother was trying to stop the assault, because this was an assault. Why put a young girl in that spot, a 11-year-old girl? It's not that, regardless of what's happening, it's not the 11-year-old girl's fault. Why heap that trauma? Well, it turns out that the barbershop owner, TJ Malvo, and the name of the barbershop was Draft Picks Barbershop, said that the woman is no longer employed there. He made clear that her actions did not represent the shop. And he said apparently that viral video sealed her fate. But come on, we can do better. We can do a whole lot better than that. But she certainly did try and cut this little girl's hair off because she felt the mother owed her another $25 for this so-called late fee. Now, if it wasn't interfering in with other clients, if she didn't have anybody waiting, and she arrived exactly at 5:10, 10 minutes after 5, which is apparently the hang up, then you couldn't let that go? That's something else. This woman, and Trixie, as he says, this is why I do my own hair and my daughter's, because I would go the freak off, she says. And yeah, Dr. Marilyn says, I can see charging a no-show fee, but not a late fee. She says she charges one. And clearly, yes, something is clearly wrong with this hairdresser. And it's not no way to excuse that behavior. And yes, it turns out, Trixie, yes, the hairstylist certainly seems to have inconvenienced her. So, folks, you got to get a hold of yourselves. You got to get a hold of yourselves nowadays. This is outrageous to have that type of behavior, and especially with an 11-year-old girl. That's what makes it really even all the more appalling that this was 11 years old. Yes, I agree, Dr. Marilyn. Her license should be revoked. that should be the end of her doing anybody's hair. Let her go do her own child's hair if she has a child. Here's another note that I wanted to bring up. And Trixie adds more to the story that the mother is actually pregnant. She says, like, seriously pregnant. So can you be a little bit pregnant and seriously pregnant? Trixie says, seriously pregnant. I would suppose that means that she's like getting there toward giving birth. But Orange says he has his locks retwist every 2 months. I've never seen anything like that. Hopefully she is charged with assault of a minor. I think the charges that they're looking at is the, you remember she cut the mom on the hand with the scissors when the mom was trying to stop her with the scissors. So they're looking at some sort of assault on the mom. But I agree too that they should look into some sort of charges as it relates to the young girl. But the Food and Drug Administration, I want to bring this up. I wrote a story about this. It's on blackpressusa.com now. The Food and Drug Administration has suspended a key quality control program for testing milk and other dairy products, citing a diminished workforce. No kidding. You fired everybody. An internal FDA email obtained by some news outlets have revealed that the agency paused its proficiency testing program for grade A milk, which is the highest sanitary standard for fluid milk products. So it's not even about safety anymore, food safety anymore. Of course, RFK Jr. took over that, and well, nonetheless, the problem is that it really, who does it really hurt more than others? Of course, we are disproportionately, Black folks are affected by this because we already face elevated health risks and nutritional disparities. A 2024 review published in the Journal of National Medical Association concluded that Black adults continue to carry a disproportionate burden of chronic illnesses like obesity, hypertension, diabetes, and chronic kidney disease. And that review noted that one of the most consistent modifiable risk factors for improving health outcomes is better dietary quality. Imagine that. Imagine that. So, and then there was another brief that was released late last year titled Fortifying Our Health, the Role of Dairy in Black American Diets. It was from the Student National Medical Association, and they warned that long-standing myths about lactose intolerance and systemic misinformation have discouraged dairy intake in Black communities. They emphasize that dairy, particularly fermented and lactose-free products like yogurt and hard cheese, can still be a viable option for many lactose-intolerant people. But now with the FDA's testing program suspended, food safety advocates are saying, oh boy, this inconsistent testing across dairy products can lead to serious contamination risks. So this has gotten out of hand. Folks, we talked already about what's happening. April Ryan's reported what's happening at the National African American Museum. Now we get RFK's disaster that he is continually going along with, talking about make America healthy again. He's making America die again. This is absolutely a clown show of an administration. Look, it's nothing short of a clown show. There is not one qualified person leading any of these organizations. Not one. And in fact, the Washington Post did a story yesterday showing why all these people got these positions. They all were big donors to Donald Trump. So all you had to do, David Youngblood could have donated money to Trump if he wanted to, and he could have been Secretary of State. So imagine that. Orrin G, he could have been our HUD director. So Dr. Marilyn could have been vice president. She made a nice donation. It's unbelievable. Tommy Patterson, cousin, said that he doesn't think Kennedy will last. But somebody pointed out, and I think it was, I want to say it was. In fact, I was talking to Washington former publisher Denise Rolock Barnes yesterday, who they had an event last night at Ben's Chili Bowl, Ben's Next Door. And this was after their 60th anniversary celebration that they had last month. So she gave something to thank those who supported. And she was talking about Marco Rubio. And she was saying that, out of all the cabinet members, all the folks who are on Team Trump, he looks like this is really starting to hit him the most. Like he looks like something is going on with him. Like he's seeing things, because she pointed out that he's the only one that, other than Trump and sometimes J.D. Vance, gets around, gets out of the country, goes, and he's in shock, is what she said. And you look at his face, look at his eyes, and it seems to really be hitting him. Not that we feel sorry for the guy. He made his own bed, let him lie in it with all the bed bugs and everything else that's in it, because that bed ain't clean. There's no question about it. No question about it. Yeah, exactly. Does that look like a man who's happy with life? Looks just the opposite, doesn't it? Oh man, we are in a disaster. But then we got voices, folks. We got strong voices out there. And our next guest is certainly, it's almost an understatement to say that she has a strong voice. She's a truth teller. She's a movement builder. She's never been afraid to speak truth to power. She's former Ohio State Senator Nina Turner. She's joining us now. Nina, it's always great to be able to chat with you.
Good morning, Brother Brown. It's a pleasure to join you as well.
Nina, so much is going on, and I want to keep that respect on your name and say Senator Turner.
Thank you for that. That means a lot to me. Oftentimes, I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No,
women
okay.
Who have either actively elected or not necessarily actively elected, but we get to keep our last title in this country. But so often I've been disrespected or maybe disregarded in that way, where I know that people would, if people were interviewing President Obama, for example, they would not forget to call him president, even though he's not actively president. And I'm just using him for example. And He deserves that. He gets to keep that title for the rest of his life. And so I just want to say, Brother Brown, I really do appreciate that. I didn't even have to say it or think it. And, there have been times when I was actively elected and people will be talking to my colleagues and they'll refer to them to councilman or senator, but I would be Nina,
Yeah.
So thank you.
With the Black Press, you are and will always be Senator Nina Turner. Senator Turner, let's start with the Target boycott, because that's the first and foremost thing on everybody's mind today, especially with the events over the past, say, week or so. So Target called Reverend Sharpton, who says himself is not boycotting. He's not participating in the boycott. What's the deal with that?
I just think over the years, Reverend has established himself as the person that corporations and others who are in crisis, whether it's the Black community or the white folks in corporate America, that they call. So when Reverend, according to the stories I've heard from people who talk directly to Reverend, once he made that announcement that he was going to hold Pepsi accountable, the CEO of Target decided to call him. Now, it's a lot of stuff on social media. I want our audience to know everything on social media is not necessarily true, or there may be kernels of truth, but it might not be the whole truth. Reverend immediately called Dr. Jamal Bryant of New Birth in the ATL, and he is a collaborator with myself and Tamika Mallory, one of the co-founders of Until Freedom. And so I'm so glad that you're asking this question. The three of us, and that's Dr. Jamal Bryant, Tamika Mallory, and myself, are three leaders who came out basically together on this. Target made an announcement that they were going to roll back their DEI commitments on January the 24th. On January the 25th, my organization, We Are Somebody, put out into the universe that we are going to boycott you on February 1. You have between January 25th and February 1 to pick up the phone, to call somebody to say we made a mistake or let's have this conversation. They never did do that. So the three of us, the first phase of that boycott in terms of like robust action, it was boycott on February 1st, even though some people, Brother Brown, started boycotting like right on January 25th, but officially February 1st. And then the first like other action, like real robust action, came through the Target fast. So people need to understand the Target fast is a component of the boycott itself. And the three of us, co-founder Tamika Mallory of Until Freedom, myself, Nina Turner, We Are Somebody, and Pastor Jamal Bryant, the Target fast, we have been together ever since. So Target decided to jump over all of us and they went straight to Rev. But Rev, to his credit, did call Pastor Bryant and said, hey, the CEO of Target just called me. I'm not in this. What should we do? And Pastor Jamal Bryant was in that meeting. So he was one of the three of us. So that is the less long version of what happened. Now, you may ask, well, why they shouldn't have called Rev in the first place? That's number one. They should have called the people who are leading the boycott, but that's neither here nor there. Rev did the right thing, and he did call one of us, and that one of us was Pastor Jamal Bryant.
Has Pastor Bryant, have you spoken to him at all about why he wasn't in that photo that the Reverend? Because again, that's what folks have been talking about. Well, why wasn't he in the photo? And we haven't heard directly from him.
Yeah, I both Tamika and I, you see, Brother Brown, I'm being very deliberate to give three of us. We were the spark, but the people are the ones that's keeping this boycott together. To answer your question directly, he did not want to be photographed. He told Tamika and myself that he didn't want to be in that photo. He didn't necessarily agree that it was necessarily right to take a photo at the time, and so he decided, I don't want to be in the photo. And there's nothing.
I'll tell you what, Senator Turner, I agree with him. I agree wholeheartedly, because too many times, and we see it with the president, these photo ops, they become just photo ops.
As a politician, I will say in ways, you're right. Sometimes it's just a photo op. Other times it's a way to mark who was here, like a mark on history. And one of the things Rev, shared with some others is that, that has been his pattern, his practice, to take pictures. So nobody will say it was done in secret. And, he has his way of doing things. He's been doing this for over 30 years. So I get it. I personally wouldn't have taken one either, but I don't begrudge Rev from taking.
Yeah, I'm not knocking Reverend Sharp for the picture. Yeah.
I want folks to know this ain't no happy time. I ain't posing with you. Okay. I'll just tell people we had the meeting. So, but I understand why Rev did what he did.
Yeah. And as far as that is concerned too, we've had folks in the movement say that, divide and conquer has always been one of the hallmarks of these corporations. Some thought, some believe, and I was certainly among them who believe that calling, there's nothing wrong with calling Reverend Al, like you said, his history, it precedes him. But some have said that this looks like the same pattern of corporations trying to sidestep real grassroots voices.
Oh, yeah. Now, that part is true. I'm just saying, I don't think that was Reverend Sharpton's rationale. That is true. They are trying to pick us off. This CEO has flown around the country to meet with other folks as well around us. And luckily, most of the people that they've decided to meet with and not meet with the people who called for the boycott in the first place. Our organization was the first national organization to call for this boycott. And you know, the song, I get by with a little help from my friends. This is not just about one leader. This is not just about me or Tamika or Pastor Jamal. This is about a larger purpose, and it is about the people, because you know what, Brother Brown, we could be the spark, but if people don't believe in it, Target's market share would not be going down. They foot traffic over the last 10 weeks has gone down. That's not just because the three of us. That is because people see the wrong and the transgression, and especially the Black community, and have decided there is power in our purchase and we are not going to take it anymore. But you are absolutely right. The corporation, the CEO, Brian Cornell, is trying to pick people off.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do we stop, Senator, how do we stop our movements from being co-opted or diluted?
Oh, that is the age-old question, because you know what? Throughout history, as you and I know, and I'm sure many in the audience know, there is a history of leaders doing great things, leaders who are fallible. We're all fallible at any moment in our lives. It's just that when you are a leader in front, your fallibility tends to come out faster and quicker than somebody that is not in the public eye. But you have to have people both who are of national note and not, activists, leaders from whatever phase in their leadership they're in, to have a consciousness, to have a constitution, to have integrity that says that I will not be picked off. Other than that, there have been people throughout the course of history, when people are moving towards justice, to be picked off. Let's just think about how the FBI, by way of example, historian in me is coming out, and we're able to pick off and infiltrate various movements of ours. How were they able to do that? How? Because somebody that looks like us decided, either by threat or fear, that something about them was going to come out, or for the love of the almighty dollar, infiltrated on behalf of a system that does not love us. So whether it's the Audubon Ballroom, whether it is, you know, coming to the meetings, whether it's being there with the Black Panthers, standing in the crowd, putting the fist up, but knowing good and well you're working for the man. So there have always been those, for whatever reason, who have been willing to sell out our people or sell out a cause for their own purposes. So the only way, you ask, how can we stop it? I mean, we have to keep doing things like this, having these kinds of conversations, you using your platform to ask this question and cause people to think. If you're going to sell out, you know, you ain't right to begin with. And I don't know what to do with people like that. But I do believe the vast majority of people who enter into any movement, whether it's the past, the present, or into the future, want to do the right things. And we have to have leaders who are at the forefront, because there are always people in the foreground. But trust me, there are many more people in the background. But for the background people, the foreground people wouldn't be able to get done what they're able to get done. And the three of us, Mallory, Brian, and myself, we understand that. But we just got to have people, Brother Brown, with integrity. That's what that comes down to.
Yeah, I was talking yesterday. We were talking, I should say, me and my co-host, who unfortunately couldn't be here. She would love to have had this conversation with you, Neil Anderson, about, we was talking with the National Council of Negro Women. And one of the questions I asked, and I'll ask you the same question, earlier in the week, Dr. Jamal Bryant did have a town hall in which Dr. Benjamin Chavis was invited to speak. Dr. Chavis, of course, is the president and CEO of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, which represents the Black press. How vital is it to have the Black press involved in these meetings, these conversations, and what's going on with Target?
Extraordinarily necessary. And I was there at the town hall, and so was Tamika. And I'm glad that Pastor Jamal invited the Black press to be in there, Dr. Chavis. It is important. We don't have as many Black newspapers as we once had at the height of Black newspapers. And I know you understand this. I just want to take people back and count this to my historian in me. Black newspapers were the vanguard of telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, for the most part, about what really was happening to Black America. We didn't have mainstream media. White media was not doing that. And it is because of the Black press that Black people were able to know when we were going to commune. You know, there was not Twitter, there was not a way to text people or signal them or WhatsApp, all the technology that we have right now. It was the Black newspaper that told the stories of lynchings of Black people. It was the Black newspaper that lifted up, you know, our institutions in our community. The press is written into the Constitution. It is the fourth estate, and it is vitally important. But, you know, there's a saying that if the hunter always tells the story, the lion's story is never told. I thank God for the Black press of the past and of the present. We got to shore up for the future. But I thank God for Black press in all of its forms, from the past, the present, and into the future, to be the lion, to tell our story. So it is extraordinarily important that the Black press is involved and that we support Black press. I fear that a lot of us don't even know that even though we don't have as many as we once had, the Black press is still rolling strong. And if you can get a subscription to one, you know, put 5 on it, you know, if you can do that, and it doesn't have to be a newspaper that is necessarily in your community. The Black press serves nationally. Please, we have to recommit ourselves to supporting our institutions.
Yeah, she said put 5 on it. The senator said put 5 on it, y'all. We talk a lot about the Black spending power, 1.6 trillion, 2 trillion. Why isn't that, Senator, moving corporate behavior?
Oh, I think that it is about to start moving corporate behavior. Once again, you know, we have many examples, but the example that is talked about the most is the Montgomery bus boycott. That was our money. They didn't just all of a sudden reverse themselves because they got a heart and realized that treating Black people like 10th class citizens was wrong. They had been doing that. That bus company was not the only company in Montgomery that was treating Black people like crap, but the organizers of that, the architects of that, because it was only supposed to be one day, but they got together and decided, oh no, we refuse to be disrespected in this manner, and there is power in our purchase. Now I'm paraphrasing, but that's what that comes down to. And they taught them a lesson, and they stayed committed to the course for 381 days. And it was not easy for them. They were threatened. People were killed. You know, even some of our white allies were killed. Right. They carpooled, they walked, they were ridiculed, but they did it. And all we asking folks to do is just not shop at Target. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just not shop at Target. There are other options. We know that some of those options don't honor our dollar either, but we're going to get to them. Target will not be the only one, but they are feeling the pressure that price point that you gave. There is power in our purchase, and we need to comport ourselves as such in the 21st century. We talk a lot about how great our forebearers were. Some names we know, some names we will never know, but it was a whole bunch of them who decided to put something on the line for themselves and mainly for future generations. We are that future generation. And so the question becomes, what will we put on the line for ourselves and for the next generation? And some of them, Brother Brown, as you know, did these things and never enjoyed the fruits of them, but they did them anyway. There's a quote, this is not Sister Turner's quote, but it says that one should plant trees whose shade you may never enjoy. That is the moment that we are in. So Target is feeling the pressure. That is why they're trying to pick people off. When you lose market share over the course of 10 weeks, when you decide to close your stores down for the very first time, as far as I know, somebody can check a Sister Senator on this, on an Easter Sunday. They've never done that before.
They've never done that.
We've added to one of our demands that you close the stores every year on Easter and give them workers a break to spend time with their families. So they are going to feel the pressure. You ask, why don't they? The reason why they don't necessarily comport themselves in that way is because we don't force them to. Brother Frederick Douglass already said it. Power concedes nothing without a demand. There has to be, to quote the character of Eddie Murphy in Life, consequences and repercussions. And the consequences and repercussions must be that we withhold our dollar. This is like going on strike. You know, I want people to think about it that way. Like, we're going on strike. We withholding our dollars, and we're standing in solidarity to get a better and exacting result.
Yeah, just a couple more things before we let you go. Senator Turner, I know you have long, during the Biden administration, prior to the Biden administration, this administration, this current administration, pushed so hard about a living wage. Is there any daylight there at all, Senator Turner? Any progress toward that? I know it takes both sides, the Democrats and the Republicans, to come together on this. Any progress at all that you're seeing?
No, not now. It won't happen under this administration. I mean, let me listen. I want President Donald J. Trump to prove me wrong on some stuff. Please, President Trump, I double dog dare you to increase the federal minimum wage. I want to be able to come out and say on this issue right here, on this issue, President Donald J. Trump did that. So yeah, I challenge the president. I know he's watching us. I challenge him to defy the odds and increase the federal minimum wage. But seriously, brother, you know, the Biden administration, even the previous administration, we got to be honest. Let's stop falling so in love with these politicians that we don't critique them. There was a time in the first 2 years of the Biden administration that he could have increased the minimum wage. He had control of the House and the Senate and the executive branch. So as much of a neo-fascist as Trump is, as vicious as he and the GOP that control both chambers of the Congress right now are, all the things that Trump is doing by executive order, President Joseph R. Biden had the same power to do the same thing. The makeup of the House and the Senate, roughly the same numbers. So what Trump is doing, but he's doing it in a vile way, is showing how to use power. I hope the Democratic Party picks up on what he's putting down. They had the same opportunity to do the same thing. And it is immoral that they did not do it. And I will indict both parties, but I'm indicting the Democratic Party a little deeper, Brother Brown, and this is why. It's because they enjoy the lion's share, almost 100% of the Black vote. They didn't pass the George Floyd Policing and Justice Act. They didn't pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, etc., etc., etc. At some point, the Black community has got to say, and because we are the moral consciousness of the nation, that is the assignment that the Creator has given us. I know it's an unfair assignment. I understand the burden of being Black. There's a burden and beauty to being Black, but there is no doubt there's a burden to being Black. And it's not that we can do these things by ourselves, because we cannot. But historically, when the Black community moves towards justice, we move the nation. It doesn't mean that it's going to stay that way, because you got to keep moving in the direction of justice, or somebody can try to snatch it back like they're doing right now. But it is immoral. It is an excuse. We shouldn't accept the excuse that the Democratic Party did not do with power what they could have done when they had it. We must increase the minimum wage to a living wage. It is immoral. It is untenable that people who work, the working poor, that shouldn't even exist. People who work full time should be able to make a living wage. And there were architects of what was called the Freedom Budget for All Americans. And Brother Brown, I hope you have me back just to even talk about that. But I just want to tease people with this. The Freedom Budget for All Americans, the architect of the Freedom Budget for All Americans was Asa Philip Randolph, Bayard Rustin, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It was the other phase of the civil rights movement. We shouldn't get it twisted. The civil rights movement was not just about the Voting Rights or the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, all momentous, all extraordinarily important, some of the most seminal pieces of legislation that was passed in the 20th century. But they understood, as others who were right by their side understood, that you cannot be free if you are not economically free. And we as Black people have to resurrect that. And so one of the things my organization is doing is resurrecting the Freedom Budget for All Americans. One more point. Bayard Rustin once said this. He said, "This country never has and never will do anything solely for the Negro." And this is why we call it the Freedom Budget for All Americans. They got over 150 organizations and individuals to sign on to the Freedom Budget. Part of it was a job guarantee, universal health care. Now, they didn't call it universal, but universal health care, farm parity, making sure people had clean air, clean water, clean food. So when you hear the progressive movement talk about these things, they didn't start the fire. It was always burning. There were Black people who started this. They wrote it out. They said that that there should not They wanted to eradicate poverty in 10 years, from 1966 to 1976 in the United States of America. And they said it could be done because we are a hegemonic nation. Their words, and I'm just giving a tease, their words were true in 1966 and they are true in 2025. And next year will be the 60-year anniversary of when those architects envisioned the freedom budget for all Americans.
Wow. You know, we could talk for hours. At least I could talk to you for hours. We got to have you back. Senator Nina Turner, we so appreciate you. Please do come back.
I will. Greer is asking thoughts on what they'll do with the museum. I know Black institutions are rising up on that. It's going to take us to save it. That museum was put together mainly by individual donations, both great and grassroots. Great and grassroots. And so it is our responsibility to make sure that that museum does not go away. There is promise in this problem. President Donald J. Trump is not going to be president always. There's an African proverb that says that one must never build their shield on the battlefield. There is no doubt that we are on a battlefield. We've been on a battlefield even before. Trump is a symptom. He's a symptom and a sign of a greater sickness in this country. I'm going to put that in the parking lot. The bottom line is that there are forces marshaling right now to begin to try to save that museum. One must never build their shit on the battlefield. That means we have to be plotting and planning and strategizing and organizing and mobilizing, in the words of my brother Killer Mike, right now for that museum and all the other great things that we are trying to save and advance in these United States of America. So I don't want folks to get weary and well doing. We need to be in the business of doing the work. It takes many hands make for light work. All of us have a role to play, both with fancy titles and people who are just everyday people putting a little extra on their ordinary. Everybody has a role to play. We are on the battlefield for justice, and we can never forget that.
And real quick, do you think, and Trump keeps teasing this out, 2028, you think he's going to run again? You think he's going anywhere?
He going to try it. But you know what's beautiful about it? He already told us what he's going to try to do. So we have to be prepared. Now, there are lawyers right now on the justice side getting prepared. So everything don't happen on social media. I'm so glad you asked this, brother. I need people to understand this. Now, I want us to think of ourselves like a team, like a football. I'm going to use football. There's a quarterback. There's a kicker. The kicker can't be the quarterback, right? The quarterback throws the ball, the plays between him and the coach. Everybody has a role to play, a running back, a tight end, all them things. Let me not go too far and expose myself. This is the point. Everybody has a position. So the kicker might not play. The kicker might only come in 2 or 3 times, but the kicker is there that when it's tight, is to get that extra point. We need people who are playing different roles on the field and not to get caught up with what the quarterback is supposed to be doing and what the coach is doing and the tight end and the running back and all them other roles. You got to play your role. Everyone has a role to play as we fight for justice. Now, you just got to figure out what your role is and play it extraordinarily. Because there are people dependent on us. We're dependent on us. Future generations are dependent on us. And we owe past generations, even those that are walking. I ain't talking about everybody that's on the ancestral plane. We got elders walking the earth right now who didn't have what we have. We have an obligation. The Black community especially, not only, but especially, we have an obligation towards justice. It's our assignment. I get it. It ain't fair. I talk to God about it on a regular basis. It ain't right. But it is our assignment. Nevertheless, it doesn't make us perfect, but baby, we are extraordinary. We are the most emulated people on the planet.
Yes, right. Yep.
Let's get people to emulate us in the fight for justice. Oh my God, Brother Brown, I love you guys so much. Greer, Marshall, love you.
Hey, the love is definitely.
I want to come back. I got to come back.
Yeah, you definitely got to come back for sure. Senator Nina Turner, thank you so much. And we will definitely have you back. Thanks for joining the Black Presses. Let it be known.
My honor. Sending love.
Absolutely. Wow. I told you she's going to bring the heat, and she never disappoints. Never disappoints. So we're going to jump right from there to our Black card. Neil's not here with her quickies. So we got to leave the quickies for her. But we got to do it. We got to do it. The black card. We are taking the black card away from Shannon Sharpe. Yep. After a few days of mulling this over, the whole put a big black baby in me. You start with this 19-year-old white girl telling you to put a big black baby in me. Monique warned you. He's spoken. Now we learn he's spoken so openly about other OnlyFans women. The dude got a problem. He just can't come to the cookout with all of this baggage. And now he stepped down, at least as he says, temporarily. I guarantee you that's a permanent situation. He stepped down before they stepped him down, before they fired him. Because Stephen A was kind of signaling, I don't got your back on this. Don't got your back on this. Plus, Stephen A, of course, is a major sellout himself. So if you're looking for Stephen A to have your back, that's already tells you where you are in the scheme of things. But Shannon Sharpe, and Shannon needs to go away real quietly for a long time. Offered the girl $10 million by several accounts now. Offered her $10 million, which suggests that there are some things that are not quite on the level, Shannon. Because $10 million, rich people don't be giving away their money. And even though you was about to, you didn't. You was about to sign this $100 million contract. You don't have that $100 million in your bank. And if you had $100 million in your bank, I'm sure you don't just want to give $10 million away to somebody who decided that they are unhappy with you. So you did something. It appears you did something really wrong. But certainly 50-something years old. He's 57 years old this year. So 2 years ago, he's about 55. 2 years ago, that girl was 19 years old. Enough is enough. You're done, Shannon, at least for now. You're done. We enjoyed Club Shay Shay and all of that. We was enjoying you and Ocho. But now we got to set you aside. All right. So now that we revoked Shannon's black card, let's move on to a couple of Black history facts. And Dr. Joni says, yep, that was enough of Shannon Sharpe. And Nancy Wall says, SEX was expensive. And Nagon 11 says, Shannon's highly finished. And Inferno 932 says, money but lonely. On this date in 1945, the United Nations was founded at a San Francisco meeting attended by Black American consultants, including W.E.B. Du Bois, Mary McLeod Bethune, Ralph J. Bunche, and Walter White. Black folks played a big part of that history. And on this date, 1917, the First Lady of Jazz, Ella Fitzgerald, was born in Newport News, Virginia. In 1934, a 16-year-old Ella Fitzgerald got her big break following a show-stopping performance at the Apollo Theater in Harlem. Of course, more success at the Apollo and other ventures would follow. And Ella Fitzgerald was invited to join Chick Webb's jazz band, where she scored her first hit, A Tisket, A Tasket, in 1938. The great Ella Fitzgerald. She died on June 15th, 1996, at the age of 78. And our Black-owned newspaper of the day is none other than the Pensacola Voice. The Pensacola Voice is the premier source for news, events, and community stories in Pensacola, Florida, and the surrounding areas. At Pensacola Voice, they are committed to delivering timely, accurate, and impactful stories that matter to their readers. Through its rigorous reporting, compelling storytelling, and dedication to the truth, the Pensacola Voice strives to be the most trusted source of local information. So check out the Pensacola Voice's website. Check them out on a regular basis, and certainly check out our BlackPressUSA.com website every day. It's being updated constantly with news you can use. Thanks for watching Let It Be Known. We will see you again on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Black institutions. The Black Press is our Underground Railroad. This is our moment. The Black Press is the space and place where Black messaging is unfiltered, where the realities of the Black experience from all sides of it, right? We're not a monolith. We don't like all the same things. The Black Press is the place that gives entree into what should we be doing. This is a partner. This is someone you can trust. If the Black Press is not activated, not invested in, we lose our Underground Railroad, period, point blank. I said what I said because I know it to be true. The Black Press is the one place that Black stories are told from nuts and bolts. The more we tell our story with Black Press, the more that sponsors have to support the Black Press. And I'm 100% behind it.